It's January 10th, 2021, and welcome to episode 49 of the Baby Metal Podcast. We gather in the podcast Discord server on alternate weeks to discuss news and thoughts on the past and future projects of Baby Metal. We invite you to join us, whether you're a longtime fan or have only just arrived. I am Paul, and I am joined by Kevin.
Happy New Year and welcome back, everybody.
And Callie.
Hello and Happy New Year.
All right. So, this is the first show of 2021. I think it's been 3 weeks since we recorded last. And so there's a fair amount of little news to talk about. And this time we're going to talk about the 10 Baby Metal Years album, and its many versions and that sort of thing. And then just a lot of sort of miscellaneous news, but, we made it. That's good. We're in 2021.
Yay.
Here's to a better year for everybody.
Yeah.
Yes.
Arbitrary point in time has been, passed.
Yes.
Okay, let's see. So we saw some stuff on TV. I'm trying to remember now. It all fades into the background pretty quickly. But on Christmas, there was, I think that was this one, wasn't it? The Music Superstation Live 2020.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, and this is the one they played. They played Distortion.
Correct.
Did you watch it?
I did. Not live, but I caught it later.
Yeah, I caught it later as well.
I don't know if there's much to say about it. Sue's mic wasn't up at the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
But it was neat. They were on TV. People were watching, so that's good. I don't know. I don't think I have much else to say about this particular one, but
yeah, it happened. It was a thing.
Yep. More interesting probably is the Kohaku event. So that was we've talked about that a fair amount. That was the kind of like big deal red team versus white team thing that they did on New Year's Eve, counting down to 2021. That was the one where they picked. So I'm not sure exactly how this was arrived at, but Kohaku told Baby Metal, you are playing this song, and this song was Ijime Dame Zetai. And then at the end, there was a collaboration with Yoshiki from X Japan on Endless Rain. But what were your takes on, I guess maybe starting with IDZ?
So as far as I know, there was really no official means of watching it live, unless you were in Japan, because it was not on NHK World.
Right.
So unless you had some special TV plan internationally, it was actually pretty difficult to watch. I'm pretty confident there were ways to bootleg it if you're into that kind of thing. But I did follow along live on Twitter and things like that, and many fans had recorded and uploaded it almost instantaneously. I think by like 5 minutes after the performance ended, I saw the full video on Twitter. But it was cool. I was a little skeptical about IDZ because we know that they only had 3 minutes or something like that, and that is not a 3-minute song.
No, they cut a big chunk out of that.
cut a pretty sizable chunk out of it, and I thought it actually worked pretty well. They did a good job compressing that into the vibe, while maintaining the vibe of the song into like 3 minutes.
Yeah, it's true. They cut out the bit where Moa and the Avenger would normally kind of fight each other and do fighting choreography. So that probably doesn't really fit to the show they're performing on. So that's probably a good thing that they cut that out.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, it was cool.
And it was very high profile too. I mean, like that's
very
lots of people saw them.
Right.
So. Yeah.
And a pretty big night for everybody involved. I do remember seeing, I know Bo tweeted, Amura might have tweeted cryptically that they were excited to have been on Kohaku. If you read between the lines.
Yeah.
Excellent. There were actually, the other thing too was that this was broadcast in 4K as well. And what was interesting about that was that they had different cameras. So it wasn't just the show, in 2 different resolutions. It was actually 2 different angles. And I haven't gone and compared it all that well. I'm trying to remember which one. You could see the cameras for the other one in one of them. I think you could see the lower resolution cameras in the 4K shot. So that's also kind of neat. I thought, so there's one thing that I thought was very weird about IDZ as a one-off. and I don't, yeah, I'm not sure that anyone agrees with me on this, but so last time we heard it in modern times was Legend Metal Galaxy, I think, right?
Correct.
So they did this, sort of like big, stunning, epic thing where they had all the Avengers and it was a sort of a surprise performance, and it was in the context of a big concert where everybody was into their history, and like it was a big baby metal moment.
What really was.
Yeah. What I found about this was that it was we sort of dropped this song into the it's all by itself in a setting where not everybody was there for baby metal. Some were sort of surprised by it, and I was taken aback a little bit. Like I wasn't anticipating seeing this, but when I saw them do it, it really is. It's like little kid choreography. It's surprisingly sort of like unsophisticated, and it really felt a little bit awkward in a way that like they were now adults, and in this they had this big sort of like visible opportunity, and they have to go back and do this thing that they did when they were little kids, and it works better either when you're really devoted to it, like in the context of the Legend Metal Galaxy concert, or when they're little kids. But so I wasn't going into it thinking I was going to see this, but it did feel a little bit uncomfortable, in a way, partway through. It was like this like pointing and stuff, and I don't know, their choreography got better, and nevertheless it was still even designed to look like what little kids do. So
how do you compare this performance to Doki Doki Morning at RockMecon?
Yeah, I think I would have put that in the Legend Metal Galaxy box as well. That the people who are there are the one members. I mean, they're totally into that. So I mean, maybe it's possible that what part of the vibe I felt was that it's a difference between playing to your own audience and to like a wide audience that might not be there for you. But yeah, I mean, Doki Doki Morning was definitely that was sort of made kid-like too.
Yeah, it was.
Absolutely.
So, and including her voice, which was pretty hilarious.
That's interesting that you make that observation based on the context, right? You didn't have that thought when we talked about RockMecon and doing Doki Doki Morning. Everybody was just excited. But in the context of Kohaku, you thought it was, I don't know, maybe inappropriate's not the right word, but strange.
Yeah, well, because this is kind of like reintroducing baby metal to people who might have forgotten them. They're like, oh, they grew up, and then it's like, oh, but they're still doing the same stuff. So, yeah, I mean, I think I probably would have said that something from Metal Galaxy would have been better in this context, but
now they didn't necessarily pick this song, right? That was something Kohaku asked them to perform.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure they probably had some kind of veto power, but yeah. I mean, this was not supposed to be their choice. This was Kohaku instructed them what to do.
Huh. I hadn't thought of that. I'm just happy whenever that song is performed anymore.
Yeah, yeah, me too.
Because I feel like that's a rare treat now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it was cool to see it. It was, it worked as well as it could have. I was kind of surprised at how weird I felt watching it.
Yeah, that is interesting. Yeah, I can definitely say that's not something I thought of or that came to mind.
I mean, I guess the other thing that occurs to me too is that it's one of these songs that it has a strong message, a good message about not bullying and how bullying is, it hurts those bystanders as well and all the stuff. But it is still, even lyrically, it is still kind of like little kid perspective.
Right.
So yeah, it's interesting. It's an interesting challenge they have because they were little kids doing metal and now they're, adults doing metal.
Yeah, it's definitely a conversation we've had before, not only here, but I think in lots of other places people have had this conversation. What does what does Baby Metal look like when they're adults, performing the first album? You know, because
Yeah.
the point you bring up, I think, is a valid one. It's worth talking about. You know, what does it look like? And we're starting to see that, I guess, when they start bringing these older songs out now that they're 10 plus years older than when they first played them and were written for.
And some of those old ones, like they can really work pretty well. I mean, like I think, although I can't quite imagine the context in which this would be possible. Like, you know, song 4 works because it's just ridiculous. You know.
Sure. But maybe Onedara Daisaka-sen doesn't.
Yeah, probably not. It I guess the thing about that one is that it feels like, you know, part of the substance of that song is like, you know, the little kids playing criminal or whatever, you know, and you know, now it's basically just performing a cover almost if they do it. Anyway, okay, so was there anything else you wanted to say about IDZ?
Nope.
No.
So the other sort of big thing about Kohaku was the Endless Rain performance. That was pretty impressive. It was Yoshiki, you know, who's the ex-Japan guy, very famous in Japan. I have to say that I had never heard of ex-Japan or Yoshiki before.
Really?
Getting into Baby Metal.
Oh, okay.
But
I was expecting you to say you hadn't heard of them
not
prior to Kohaku.
Oh yeah, I mean, so what's interesting about this is that I'm not sure what I think Koba's opinion is of ex-Japan, but I know that at least he seems to be treating them as kind of like very canonical, you know, big metal. So everything that they do has gotten some kind of like counterpart in what Baby Metal did early on. You know, there's iconic shots of you know, ex-Japan, actually Yoshiki himself, I think, at this like crystal piano,
right?
And you know, so they recreated that in a concert, and I think a fair amount of the neck corset stuff, the neck brace things, is based on ex-Japan and the We Are sequence. So yeah, I mean, ex-Japan is a big, it looms large in Koba's mind, and I think that was partly because I always thought of it as being like the concept of little kids misinterpreting metal and doing it themselves. You know, what they see is ex-Japan. So everything is kind of loosely modeled on that.
Sure.
But so that makes it like a big deal.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, so do you guys know who the other people were? It was a collaboration with a number of people, including like someone from Queen and
yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say Brian May and Roger Taylor were the big ones. They were quote unquote live in their homes in the UK. That was really
kind of neat.
I thought that was super cool.
Yeah. So for people who haven't seen it, they actually did. You know, so they had a stage, and so Yoshiki himself was not there. Yoshiki was on video.
Yeah, he was on video playing a acrylic piano on a beach in LA.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know he was in LA. Okay, that explains why he wasn't there live.
Well,
because he probably can't get there.
Yeah, well, who knows where he is? I mean, it wasn't live, so who knows where he was or where he is now. But where they filmed it was on a beach in LA, it looked like, or I believe I remember reading. But yeah, you had that, and you had the male group, was it Six Tones? Kind of in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
You had Lisa flanking. Sarah Brightman, I think, collab. Is that right?
The name is in the list of names. I don't know who that is.
Yeah, oh, you don't know who Sarah Brightman? Holy crap, really?
Yeah. Let's see what Google has to say.
She's a pretty incredible opera musical talent.
I see.
You've heard her voice. I can almost guarantee you've heard her voice. Famous, I think the first thing I think I recognized her from was Phantom of the Opera. Like way back in the day. Was it the original performance of Phantom of the Opera? Something like that. Long time ago. You've heard her voice. Okay.
But yeah, so they kind of ran through the song. The song does not stick with me. Like I can't, every time I hear it, I think I've never heard this before. And I know I've heard it several times. But they kind of went through it and people had individual solo sections.
Yes.
So Sue, like relevant to us, Sue Metal had a little solo section. Am I wrong about this? I think Moa didn't exactly have a solo section. She was singing with other people at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, she didn't have a solo, but it was definitely a highlight having the camera on her with, a full-size, quote, Sue microphone.
Yeah, I know.
Something we haven't seen since Sakugakuen, which was pretty incredible. The whole thing is just a treasure trove of clips and fun videos of them clearly having fun and really proud and shocked to be there, and it's just delightful. The whole thing is delightful. Even if you don't like the song or the whole concept of Kohaku, it's worth watching just for the wholesomeness of it all.
Uh-huh.
It was really cool. And the fact that we saw Moa in front of Sue and not just kind of in the back, which where you think that she probably would have been put, but they were on stairs and kind of Moa was just a little bit below Sue. So that was really cool. And she looked like she was really getting into it as well.
Yeah.
The note I had taken about this was that Moa's mic looked huge on her.
Yeah. Oh, it does.
It does look huge.
Because it is funny, we never actually see her holding such a thing. So
yeah, not recently. It, for whatever reason, does seem bigger than if you compare photos to her performing in SG, it does seem bigger than even the mic she used then, which is either she's getting smaller or they found a really big microphone.
They perhaps thought this was a very funny idea.
Or there was like a loads to choose from, and that's the one she picked out.
Yeah. I could see that. She likes to make jokes. Anyway, yeah. So there was an interesting event. Very cool. The red team won handily.
Yes. Is
that a spoiler? I don't know. But I think they got twice as many points. I forget exactly what the points count, but it was like something like 2 million to 1 or something along those lines, or 20 to 10 or something like that.
One thing about this whole event that I think is worth mentioning is, so first of all, Momoko was the Avenger for this.
Oh, yeah.
But after the performance on Twitter and social media, there were a lot of people who were experiencing Baby Metal for the first time asking who the heck this third person was and why she disappeared after IDZ.
Yeah. Well, it's predictable.
Yeah.
Predictable, but I think it's worth I don't know, maybe a little discussion on what, if anything, they should do going forward about that, because it is an interesting problem having established themselves as a group of 2 but playing with 3. I can definitely see that being confusing coming into this fandom as a new member of the fan, a new fan. Being a new fan would be really bizarre seeing this. So I'm just wondering what your thoughts are and how they should deal with this, if anything, going forward.
Yeah, it's interesting. If so somebody who's actually new, I suppose, because I mean the thing is they have poured so much effort into being 2. I mean, like if you look at anything in the past year and a half, 2 years or something, it's just been interviews with 2, photo shoots with 2,
right?
So it seems like it would be throwing away a lot of effort to rebrand themselves as 2 if they then said, oh, well, no, actually we're 3 again.
Right.
Yeah. I think it's really hard because they've only ever called them Avengers. They've never actually confirmed any of their names and who they are.
Right.
No. And then, the only thing I could think of is when they first start playing and it says Baby Metal in the corner, they could maybe put like Avenger in, I don't know, something like that, and then people would be like, oh, what's Avenger? And they'll just Google it.
Yeah, and then they'll get a bunch of Marvel movies.
Avenger, who's that?
But they don't do that with. I mean, the thing is that there's a easily drawn parallel with the Kami band, right?
Yeah,
and they don't list who's doing that.
Yeah, that's true.
They don't name anybody,
right? Because that's really what this is. They're a Kami band equivalent, but dancing. They're the Kami of dance,
yeah,
right?
Ooh,
Instead
I like
of guitar.
That.
That's the closest parallel we can draw. So yeah, I think it's a really interesting problem. Because I do think it is a problem. If the goal is to continue to grow the fan base internationally, that's definitely something you're going to have to address, and even domestically for them too. It wasn't fans in the West wondering who the heck Momoko is. right?
No.
Because this didn't air in the West, it aired in Japan, and they still had people, who the heck is this? What is this? I don't understand what exactly is going on. It's almost like a movie that's written itself into a corner, right? I don't see how you get out of that cleanly.
Yeah. Although, I mean, the other thing is I'm not convinced that it's a big problem. I mean, like, people, they thrive on confusion, right?
Lore.
So, if there's a little bit of like, oh, that's kind of weird, as people are introduced to it, I mean, they get over it quickly enough. So, like, I'm not sure that this actually is going to turn people off, and make them say, well, I'm not so sure about this anymore, because there's this person they don't name.
Well, let me ask you this though. One of the things we talk about when we talk to each other about being a fan of this is we ask people who their favorite member is. What if you're sitting at your kotatsu watching Kohaku in Japan for the first time, you're seeing BABYMETAL, and you decide right then and there and fall in love with Momoko. This person is the one I like for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go on the internet and Google and start learning about this band that you just discovered and realize this person's not a part of it.
Yeah. That circumstance does seem like it's unfortunate. I guess basically what we should maybe think about is what the upside is for naming Momoko, because then then she's got to be there all the time, right? And there's still this question. There's still this feeling of a kind of like unearned place. But I mean, I guess if she's named, that means everybody's on board with it. And I don't mean entirely unearned, but I just mean like two of them have a decade behind them, and one of them has a couple of years.
Right. Well, I mean, that would be the case with anybody joining a band who replacing a member, right?
Yeah. And I suppose if they're going to bring somebody in, she's done more earning than anyone else at this point. That's sort of on the table, given that no one else seems to be on the table among the original three. So I'm just thinking that there's not enough of an upside, or to doing that, or a downside to not doing that, to make it worth it. Because they really did sink so much into being two.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, I suppose that at the end of the Budokan shows, perhaps they could shift into some different thing. But I sort of feel like I don't think it's a huge problem. I don't know what I'm predicting will happen. It feels like it would be slightly more comfortable to know that the third one is Momoko, or if it's somebody else, to know that it's somebody else. Although it's hard to think of what they would do for a third, because it does seem weird to bring someone in new that we hadn't heard of, or hadn't seen in this context before. Although that's possible. We're getting far enough away from SG that I think the connection to SG is not so important, and we've had Riho for long enough that who didn't have an SG connection. That it sort of opens the field, but Well,
let me ask you this then. If we're still on this Avenger 2-person model in 2 years, 3 years from now, looking in the past at how they've handled the Kami, like the Kami band was supposed to be a rotating group of incredible musicians, but it basically ended up being the same 4 guys for years, right?
Yes.
So what if we run into the same situation with Momoko? And I would say it's different because she's not just in the back wearing a mask playing a guitar, right? She, to the outsider, looks just like Sue and Moa and is audience forward. So in a couple of years, if they're still doing this with her, is that something they should still do?
Oh, it's so hard
Yeah.
to know.
I mean, they're not presenting themselves as grounded in reality anyway.
Exactly.
They come to exist when the show starts or the interview starts, and then they cease to exist at the end of it. In a way, that fantasy isn't disturbed by the fact that none of them have real world personas, right? I don't know. I don't know what I'll think. I mean, I don't feel that it's an emergency, like some people seem to.
No, I don't think it's an emergency either. But it did make me think about it in a different way.
Well, and I think you're right, though, that there's suddenly a bunch of new people who hadn't thought of them for a while, and now they're like, oh wow, you changed.
It's been Yui all along.
it'll be interesting to see what a fourth album and choreography for the fourth album brings.
Mm-hmm.
It's just difficult to do a two-person, but not at the same hierarchical level or arrangement of anything on stage.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it's just, it's weird to have an unmiked balancing Avenger.
Yeah.
But if you, once you, I sort of feel like once you mic the Avenger, then that starts introducing a real person there.
Yeah, Xbook and Chat makes an interesting point. Episode 10 is the end of a duo. Episode 1 could bring a new era of trio, and that they can't carry on with the Avengers forever.
No, they could. People say that a lot. Like,
Yeah.
oh, they can't do this, and they must do this. No,
They can
I
do
don't
whatever
think
they
so.
want. Yeah. But they are coming up to an interesting place where that could work. Moving in a different direction, bringing Momoko in eventually full time, as it were.
Yeah.
With the end of Metal Resistance coming later this year and embarking on a new chapter.
If they did it, then it would feel, in retrospect, like it made sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what to, and we haven't really had much talk of the Avengers except among the fans,
Mm-hmm.
Anytime recently. So, it has kind of stabilized to Momoko, partly just because everybody else has other stuff they're doing.
Right.
And it's possible that is getting us used to it. I mean, like, I do think that there was kind of like an audience manipulation of a sort that happened. I mean, that was going to happen anyway, regardless of what happened with Yui, where they switched into the warrior costumes and
Mm-hmm.
went into the dark side, and by sort of like, I don't know, shoving us into a different reality for a bit and then coming back, that makes the relief of coming back, like, even if things have changed a little bit when you come back to 3,
Mm-hmm.
You have seen how bad it can be, sort of, in a way. I mean, like, even though it wasn't actually bad, there's a sort of expectation managing. And what I was trying to get at, I guess, with this is that even if it winds up being Momoko, they've managed to make that seem reasonable by having her essentially, there all the time now, prior to that.
Right. I suppose it's worth mentioning too, the reason we're having this conversation centered around Momoko is she has been the solo Avenger for a number of shows now.
Yeah.
And I think it's worth talking about because of, in the context of everything else kind of going on in the industry. We know Riho, one of the Avengers, has moved kind of off in her own direction. She's doing her own thing with a new company and doing her own music and stuff like that. So I think it's safe to say we won't see her again. I'm pretty confident saying that. Kano, the other Avenger who just graduated Sakura Gakuen, has her own idol/fashion group, 1-5, that is very busy and very active. I feel a little bit less confident saying we'll never see her again, but I think it's pretty likely that we won't see her Avenge again. Or if we do, it'll be very rare.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's why it kind of sparks and it's worth having this discussion about Momoko, because our other 2 established Avengers are mostly out the door.
Yeah, and of course, no one ever confirms anything like this, but I mean, like, I think the deductions are sound.
Right.
For one thing, I think both Kano and Riho, there's a sense of, I mean, like, Riho was famous before. Kano was, maybe a little bit. But there's, I think, a stronger sense that if they were to show back up with BABYMETAL, they are now, I mean, like, people would say, oh, look, it's Kano.
Yeah.
In a way, like, it's no longer, they've got enough of a current independent following outside of BABYMETAL that it would start seeming weird. It would be
Right.
sort of like inviting a guest artist or something in.
Right. Well, I hijacked 20 minutes on that discussion. You're welcome.
Yeah,
that's good. That's all right. No, I think it's interesting. It's all interesting to think about. I do kind of feel like there's a little bit of an echo chamber that we live in about where people fret to each other about, like, how, this is all going terribly, and they need to give the Avenger a mic. They need to do this and that, and I think that what we think is not as important as sometimes we feel it is. Like, I think that there are a lot of people out there who just kind of like watching the show, and they got the album and they don't really remember anyone's name. and
Sure.
it was all right.
Sure.
It's kind of weird that one doesn't have a microphone, but whatever.
Right. Yeah, that's a valid point. We do live in an echo chamber, and just by recording this podcast, and even if you're listening to this podcast, you are in a very, very, very small percentage of fans.
Yeah. Right. Oh yeah, Loon in the chat actually reminded me of the fact that the commies are masked. As that's a relatively recent change. It's a sort of obvious practical one. I think it has antecedents in metal. Other metal bands doing things like this. But I mean, there's a sort of obvious practical thing, which is that on the U.S. tour, it would have been kind of weird if like suddenly there's a bunch of like Western guys playing. It managed the fact that they had a Western commie band.
Right. Well, and they needed to transition to this is two people now. So by putting them in masks and hiding them backstage, you bring more focus to the front.
Oh yeah, I guess that's true. That they're as part of the presentation, they were saying look how this is different.
Yep.
So there were always face coverings of some kind, but obviously it was paint a lot of the time, which is easier to see.
Right.
Through. Though it is funny how different the commie band look with their like wigs and face paint from like their actual life.
Mm-hmm.
Bo, I guess, looks kind of similar, but the other ones, it's sort of surprising how different they look.
Yeah.
But I guess where I was going with this in my head is I'm wondering, idly wondering, if that's going to change too at some point. I mean, I think that the problem is if they are going to continue to have kind of like a Western and Eastern commie band, then maybe they will remain more obscured than they were before because they don't want anyone except like the super fans to really identify who it is.
Right.
I don't know. I really don't know what the future of the Western commie is. It might have been just for that tour.
My gut says we'll see them again.
Okay. I think the thing that I was pinging off in the chat was basically just wondering about the idea of whether they would ever unmask the commie. And I think to do that, they would have to just sort of accept the fact that they have some non-Japanese band members with whatever that comes along with.
Right.
So, what else? What else has happened? We had a little thing on the radio with Mori Sensei from Sakura Gakuen. What is the name? Mori Sayashi?
Yes.
Talking a little bit about the fact that, it's impressive that they're going to be on Kohaku and taking credit for bringing them to the world. But he's very funny. I like him a lot. He's one of the best things about Sakura Gakuen.
Yeah, he's great. We learned in that that discussion on the radio he had that his daughter inherited a lot of middle school clothes from Moa.
I know.
How cool is that?
That is, I thought that was very funny. And it's probably just sort of like, functional clothes or whatever, but it still is pretty cool to be that kid.
Yeah, definitely. It
is kind of funny though to just think about the normal pedestrian lives of everyone that, we talk about here. It's like, yeah, well, whatever. They have clothes, they have hand-me-downs. They will probably wear hand-me-downs.
Yeah.
What else? So I think we knew before that Nylon magazine was going to have another interview photo shoot thing with them, but they from their own official account, they tweeted some videos of the photo shoot, which I think was pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm.
They remind me a lot. It's the lighting, I think, but what we see there in the Nylon Japan photo shoot stuff reminds me quite a lot of what we had in Revolver.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does it really cool.
That purple thing. Yeah.
Very high fashion looking.
Yeah.
What did you think of those videos, Callie?
Oh, I really like them. So I assume they've obviously done a photo shoot and they've just kind of teased like a little video.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you think they're going to upload any more videos?
I can hope.
Yeah, I don't know. I really like seeing these in motion, like the photo shoots happen.
Yeah.
I guess we saw a little bit of this in the Sakura Gakuen days too. They're actually very funny little clips of people like essentially just striking 9 different poses as the cameras clicked.
Yeah.
And that's not quite what we're seeing here. This is basically just like a relatively short, elegant, video.
Right.
Somewhere along the line, photos were taken. I mean, this was Nylon doing it. It wasn't BABYMETAL that
No.
posted the videos, but we can hope it's a trend.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What else? We had, this seems like really long ago, but since last time we recorded, there was another, I think, right? Another BabyNet da da da.
Yes.
We never talked about this, right?
We never did.
Volume 4. So the main bit of merch on this was these relatively large, I mean, like I think slightly larger than a 12-inch album, canvas prints, basically.
Oh, they're way larger than a LP.
Are they?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, I mean they're like wall hanging art, but it seems like fairly good quality. They're sort of like an inch thick, and I think it's canvas.
It is canvas.
There are variations on that yellow, the yellow picture that is their current presentation. So there's one with each of the two. One with Su-metal, one with Moa metal, and one with both. And that's what they were selling in this BabyNet da da da. It was pretty funny actually because he came like as he was presenting it, he came up with this, seemed like a pizza delivery bag or whatever, and pulled the canvas things out of it. It's like, here we go. So, and they are sort of pizza sized, I suppose.
Yeah.
I bet that was
They
Mel's
are-
idea.
They are about a medium pizza box. I'll give it that.
So did anyone succumb to this and
I did.
buy any of those?
I did.
You did.
I did.
No.
I have the
Did you
Su.
do it already?
I
Not
did
this
already.
time.
They are hanging on my wall. I have the
Oh,
Su and the
cool.
Moa. I didn't buy all 3. I'm a sucker for a good print and high quality things to put on the wall. I'm not a poster guy, but I'll hang stuff like this. Though I will say I'm probably done with merch for a little while just because of how much I've spent on
Yeah.
Yeah.
stuff that will mostly be in a storage box. But something nice that I can hang on my wall, and I can say they are really nice, high quality. Like you said, they're about an inch thick, about the size of a medium to large pizza. Maybe large if you're anywhere but America, medium if you're in America. But yeah, they're really nice. They're well printed, they're well made, well put together. They hang easy, and they're good wall decoration. My only criticism of them is you had to buy them separately. You couldn't buy them together.
Oh, really?
So I paid $80 in shipping for 2 of them. If you wanted all 3, you had to pay $120 in
Oh
shipping.
my goodness.
Yeah. Only one in the
Totally
cart at a time.
nonsensical.
Yeah, I don't understand why
That is nuts.
that is a thing, and that is definitely contributing to me not wanting to buy anything for a little while.
Ooh,
Is having to
I'm
eat that shipping cost.
Yeah, it is funny. I think we were talking about that in the last one too. About how much shipping can be. Like I think.
Mhm.
Well, and also the Rockmicon, right? I mean, like there was this dumb thing where you had to like buy and ship a shirt.
Yeah.
And like, which is fine if it's going across Tokyo, but it's kind of expensive if it's going overseas. And it does seem like that specifically was totally useless for us, the foreign fans, to like limit it to 1 per cart. I just don't even understand. It seems like it's a software bug.
It does.
Why would
doesn't
you
it?
do this?
It makes me wonder if somebody on the Amuse board is also on the board at DHL.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah.
They've got specific business strategies.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw. Kevin, you were just on Podcast Des yesterday, I guess, and I was wondering. I did see these on your wall because it was a video podcast, but I didn't quite. I just assumed it was the album covers or the slip covers or something. But in the chat, you've posted the image of these things actually sitting on your up on your wall.
I have.
But I think they were visible on the video stream.
They were. Loon put a screenshot. Yeah, I was on Neon Reaper's podcast Des.
Yeah.
Friday. Was that Friday afternoon my time? Was that yesterday? No, that was 2 days ago now. I've lost all track of time.
Okay. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah. What was yesterday? I feel like things have been happening every day, but yeah. Cool. Okay. Anyway, yeah. So those things were sold via a BabyNet Volume 4. Who knows if we're going to get more. I did not buy any of them. I mean, I put them in my cart. I put a couple in my cart, and then it said, you can only have one in your cart. I said, this is stupid.
Yeah, I sat there for 10 minutes staring at these things like, oh my God, these are nice, but really, guys, one per cart? I actually spent about 20 minutes ordering these things after thinking about it because I was not convinced that was the case and that my browser was broken or something was broken with Osmart, that I could only have one in the cart at a time. I remember when these got out, I was in bed because it was pretty early in the morning. I actually got out of bed and got onto my computer because I did not trust that that my phone browser was working correctly. Yeah. That's how unbelievably shocked I was that I had to have them in separate carts.
But I'm glad that they turned out, I'm glad that you like it once it has arrived. I mean, that would have been the worst if it showed up and then it was like kind of, bad quality.
Yeah, no, they're really nice. I'm happy with them. Like I said, I'm a sucker for good things to hang on the wall. And as far as I know, this is the first time they've released an official print of something that isn't like a poster. Right? So I definitely wanted them. Xbook asks if I paid 2 shipping fees. Yes. Ooh. You were not allowed to have more than one of these in a cart. So if you wanted more than one, if you wanted Sue and Moa, and there were 3 of them, one with both, you had to buy each one separately and pay separate shipping.
Yeah.
It must have had something to do with the packaging or something.
Yeah, I have no idea. The box was big.
Yeah.
It's the second biggest box.
Was it quite well, like, inside, was it, like, padded? Did it have loads of bubble wrap?
Yeah, it was very nice. It was in its own padded box inside of a slightly larger cardboard box.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it was very well shipped, very well packaged. Everything I've ever gotten from Osmart has been very, very well packaged. Yeah. So it was just the same. No damage or anything like that.
Maybe they just thought this time 2 canvases is a bit far too risky to have it not get damaged.
Yeah. Maybe, but I mean, they're packaged separately. It was in a protective plastic bag inside of its own cardboard box, inside of a larger padded cardboard box. You could have easily stacked as however many you wanted of these. So, yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. Especially considering all of my 10-year merch came in a pretty big box.
Yeah.
Right? So I know they have bigger boxes available.
So they all run out.
Yeah, maybe.
I would tend not to put such things on my wall, but so that was the main thing that kind of led me to thinking, oh, okay, I'm not going to bother with this. But it's hard not to think, maybe I should have.
Well, you never know. They might come back. The Karuta set and the other 10-year set came back on Osmart recently. Restocked.
Interesting. Yeah. I kind of wish I liked the image better. I'm not convinced that I like the yellow, or gold or whatever it is, but
it's
less just yellow.
It's less oppressive in person.
Okay,
if that makes sense.
I think it might.
But it definitely has a Catholic Jesus above the fireplace vibe.
Nice.
Have it the first thing as you walk into your front door.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. One more merch thing. Actually, there's a couple things, I suppose. But so not long after this, I can't quite remember exactly what the context was of this, but not long after the BabyNet they actually put that delivery bag up for sale too, like the bag that Kobo pulled these things out of.
It's so silly.
And it really is. It's like I think it's a whatever, like temperature controlled.
It's just a thermal bag.
It really is like a pizza delivery bag.
Yeah.
It is very much designed for Japanese people, in my opinion, because they do have a lot of picnics, especially around like spring. They go for a lot of picnics under the cherry blossom trees.
Yep.
Yeah.
Definitely.
The only thing I'd like to have it is just to roll up to work with all of my lunch in there. Like, all right.
Here we go.
Yeah. But it's big. I mean, like it's big enough to hold
It's a backpack.
the canvases.
I have a
It's
big
a
lunch.
That's right. Okay. It's a hard day. I have to keep my energy up.
Yeah.
You can drive for Uber Eats and rep your fandom.
Yeah. But yeah, it's funny. I mean, it's it's got the Baby Metal, like the 10 years kind of version of the Baby Metal logo on it. And yeah, I didn't get it, but
I did not buy that one though.
No.
Yeah. It seems like there's got to be a limit somewhere.
The apron.
Yeah, but where is it? I bought the damn apron.
I love the apron.
Yeah, I have the apron too. And in fact, actually, so there's an older thing. I forget what it's called, but it's something like a picnic mat. That it's an older bit of merch. It's a circular kind of.
It was like a
vinyl,
rug,
maybe.
Wasn't it?
Well, there's a rug. It's the same pattern. It's the same sort of like Tokyo Dome Rose pattern. There's an actual rug, but then there's actually. I thought I was buying the rug, but it turned out that what I got was this little vinyl circle that you actually that is something like you would go sit on outside. I don't think you'd want to sit on the rug outside.
No.
But so I more recently tried again and did actually get the rug, but. Anyway, whatever. Yeah, that's going along with the picnic thing. So if you have the magic blanket thing and the pizza bag, you can go on a picnic, and you can use your metal straws.
Oh God! At least I didn't have to directly pay for those.
No.
Yeah,
it's just an added bonus.
Such as they are.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I really do kind of like that. The functional thing. Weren't there were ear protectors too at some point, right? Like.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were, I think.
I think they were sold at a Japanese show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, okay, let's see. Oh, yeah, the other, I was alluding to another sort of merch-like thing. They did this launch event in the shows. I think we talked about this in the last one, that like on a couple days after release day, in a bunch of different Tower Records, they had probably Koba going to these different places and presenting. They were basically like lottery winners. I forget now exactly how this worked, but you could win a pen, and we talked about this on the last one. I remember.
Yeah.
But one of the things that you could get was a Baby Bones mask, and so I just assumed that this was going to be like an actual Baby Bones mask. It was going to be like a cloth thing. I think that's what we actually said, or what I said on the last one was that you could get an actual cloth Baby Bones mask. And did you saw what they were though? It's like what I think of as like a kid's Halloween mask with like a little elastic that goes around your head. It's super cheap. I mean,
super cheap.
It's hardly cool. So if you were in Japan, you could go to Tower Records, and if you were lucky enough, you could win this cardboard thing with a little elastic on it.
There's some that's already
possibly
up on,
handed to you by Koba.
Yeah, there's some already up on eBay and some reselling sites.
Yeah,
pushing like $100.
Silly.
Great.
Yeah.
What is left? I've been kind of going in through my notes out of order here, so we will talk about the 10 Baby Metal years set here shortly, the main topic of the show. Now that we've ticked over an hour. But one of the things that we know about this is that it comes in 10 versions. We don't know what the 10th one even is, but the like 7th, 8th, and 9th, I suppose, are these special editions that were constructed by each of the members, Tsu Metal and Moa Metal, and then Koba Metal has his own, which is essentially, some assembly of presumably 10 songs in some order, probably not the same 10 songs as were on the actual 10 Baby Metal years album. And the way you get it is that you submit these profit cards that's sort of, you give your guess as to what's going to be on this, so on the Moa one or on the Tsu one, what songs in what order. And we've talked before about how that is impossible.
Yeah.
There's no way. If you have 42 songs in, any possible orders, the odds are, beyond astronomical. But they actually did they started giving us a couple of clues. So as we thought they might. So we have that, and this was, I think, Toys Factory who was tweeting this out.
Yes.
But so we have basically they have little snippets of lyrics from a couple of different songs. So Sue's, we have a little snippet of Akatsuki and a little snippet of Catch Me If You Can. Interesting that neither one is actually on the real album, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and then Moa, we have hints from her for Shine and Ine. Oh, and MS1, actually. Sui also had Road of Resistance, and Moa, we have Arcadia. So we have 3 hints from each. That actually does not cut down the number of possibilities all that much. But we might assume that those are the first 3 in each of those 2 editions, and we have nothing for Koba.
Yeah, good luck, everybody. It'll be really interesting to see if anybody actually wins these.
Yeah.
And if they did they actually get it right, or did they just decide to pick 4 people at random?
Yeah. I don't know. Because I mean, like, I think if we've come up with this before, but like if those hints weren't actually in order, then everything is just hopeless still. Because I mean, like, even if you knew what the 10 songs were, you've got like whatever it is, 85 million possible chances. Possible orders.
I've mentioned this before. Somebody on Reddit did the math. It's 1 in 5 quadrillion. Yeah. It's some insane number. So.
Yeah, and we actually, we do some. It's not infrequent in an interview that people will ask them, like, "What's your favorite song?" And I mean, like, I'm sure they give some thought to this ahead of time. I'm not completely convinced that they don't, pick their favorite on some basis other than actually being their favorite. But at any rate, like, we know that, I don't know, we know Sue likes Homage and I. Maybe because it's the dance that she likes,
That's kind of on brand, right? She liked Metataro from Metal Resistance.
Yeah. Moa liked BMC because it rhymed with PMC.
And she said she liked Papaya as well in like one of the first interviews about Metal Galaxy.
Yeah.
This is interesting. I didn't know this. Xbook in chat says apparently there are drop-down menus for each song with 3 possibilities.
Oh, if you actually register. Okay.
I haven't done this yet, so I can't confirm, but according to Xbook in chat.
Is there a deadline?
And he also says songs are not repeated. So I suppose odds are a little bit better.
Yeah.
Than initially reported. Still very difficult to win.
Yeah, I see. So for every slot, you have 3 choices. Okay, that's good.
Yeah. He does want to mention that that's what he's heard, but not seen. So that's maybe something we can investigate for our next show.
Oh, geez. I was just, so actually all my 10 Baby Metal Year stuff is sitting at Tenso.
Right. You're not even going to get to do this.
Yeah. When's the deadline?
I think it's the 22nd of January.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's the 22nd of January. So you need to get that stuff shipped if you want to have a chance.
Yeah.
Dang. Okay. All right.
Do it now. Leave.
Yep. And that's it for this show.
We got you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Because you need the card. You need the code on the card.
You do need the code on the card
to do this. All right. Yeah. Okay. So we'll see what happens. Maybe next time we will talk about that. But so everybody gets a card per special item. Okay. Let's see. Is there anything else? Maybe. Oh yeah. Last bit of news that we can maybe talk about before we actually pivot back to talk about the Tenbei Metal Years stuff. The Budokan shift.
Yes.
It's the 10th today.
Today is the 10th.
And I think the 19th is when it's supposed to be Budokan 1.
That is correct.
I mean, I still like only have about a 40% belief that this is going to even happen in 9 days. But they there was I think a curfew or something.
Yeah, the Tokyo and the surrounding 3 prefectures were issued a state of emergency requesting people to social distance, not go out, but requesting businesses and events to end by 8 p.m.
Okay. They changed the time, and so they also, in addition to that, like made available some information about refunds if that is essentially going to make it not possible for you to go.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you might have to work.
I guess it's true. You might have to work all the way up until too late to be able to get there in time.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're starting to have a mechanism for bailing on this show.
The most interesting part of that announcement to me isn't so much the time change. I'm a little surprised that they're committed to going through with this at this point.
Yeah.
But it's that after, and I'm paraphrasing a translation off the top of my head here. After speaking with the members, they decided to alter the content of the performance to better comply with the state of emergency and COVID regulations, which I find really interesting because
it's really weird.
It's one of the only times ever I think we've gotten mention of a peek behind the curtain. And then, of course, it begs the question, well, what were they going to do that they're now not going to do?
Right. Well, maybe they'll just be on opposite sides. Maybe everybody on stage will be very far apart.
The thought I had was maybe they'll do, like air cannons or pyrotechnics and things like that. Things that can move a bunch of aerosol in the building. Maybe they won't do stuff like that.
Yeah.
Or Sue just doesn't sing.
Yeah.
they just dance along the instrumental versions.
Yeah.
BABYMETAL Unplugged.
Yeah. Oh my God.
It is interesting. I mean, so part of the reason that I thought we weren't going to see like anything until like October was that I had kind of been banking on Koba having a real aesthetic vision of like what concerts are and things like that is not achievable by a small, silent, socially distanced crowd. It's just not a metal concert. And so I had thought that essentially he would have said, well, I would rather have these big epic shows be big and epic, and later.
Yeah.
But then to have them in a big deal venue soon, but kind of crippled in a way. So I don't know, but it does seem like, I mean, they have on those instructions somewhere. It basically says, we want you to essentially stay seated, don't shout, don't exert yourself, just watch the show.
It's like you're at a orchestral performance. You're at the symphony for the night.
Yeah.
But getting your face melted off.
They did say that, I think it was in the announcement that they're considering doing a live viewing also.
Yes. Not to be confused with a live stream, a live viewing in the same vein that they've done a movie theater viewing of, for example, Legend M months after the fact.
Yeah. So if you weren't able to go to the actual Budokan show, if you were in Japan, you might have an option to see it.
Right.
Again, sort of in public.
Which is also interesting because the movie theaters was called out specifically as one of the things they're considering forcing to close.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, so we have part of the reason that we are recording 3 weeks after the last time we recorded is that we were trying to adjust our schedule in sympathy with these shows, so we will be recording next after the first one was supposed to have happened.
Yes.
So we'll get our reactions on that, I guess, or that it didn't happen. I mean, it seems like we are not, we're not that far away from the possibility, it seems like, of the government saying, no, you can't do this.
Yeah.
Though I have heard people discussing the possibility that that's actually really that's not something that the Japanese government tends to do. It tends more to say, we think it would be better if you didn't do this, rather than don't do this.
I was going to say, I think we've mentioned this before. It is limited to 5,000 or half capacity, whatever happens first.
Mm-hmm.
Capacity Budokan, I just checked, is 14.4 thousand. So
okay, so it would be 5,000 maximum.
Right.
Well, hopefully all 5,000 make it through, without getting sick.
Yeah.
Either on the way there or in the venue. I mean, that's the other thing too. But anyway, all right. Well, a little bit of 2020 seeping into 2021 here.
Yeah. I mean, they're the best judges of what they think they can do safely, So if they think they can do this.
Yeah, I do hope that safety is one of top concerns. I am not always confident that it is. I mean, like, that a kind of like, well, we're going to do this. We said we were going to do it and we're going to do it could conceivably get close to taking priority, which I'm hoping isn't the case. But yeah, anyway, I do hope that they believe that it's safe if they're doing it rather than they believe they can somehow get through it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, the requirements to attend are very well stated, very clear.
Mm-hmm.
They've made a point of mentioning they've hired, I think, 2 independent contractors that are going to be constantly sanitizing everything. Seats, bathrooms, bars. I read something about some sort of air filtration thing at the entrance of all the bathrooms. So they're doing stuff. They're doing their best to mitigate risk. So we'll see.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, if it's going to go ahead, then that's good that they're doing all that. So, and I mean, still, all that aside, I'm still really looking forward to seeing what they had planned.
Yeah.
There was so I think last time we were talking about RockMecon and its juxtaposition with the Bandmade show that was like the day after or something like that. This recording here is actually just the day after Avatar did a pretty impressive thing. So Avatar, I don't know, I assume most people know Avatar because I know Avatar solely because I saw them live because they were opening for BABYMETAL.
Yeah.
But and they're funny. They're over the top entertaining. But they did a really, I think they kind of took ownership of this stream format in a really interesting way. I think it was sort of like it sucks that we can't all do this. We can't wait to all be together, and in the future. But until then, we'll get through it.
Right.
It was a very sort of positive thing. But they had a setup where they had basically like a number of different. It was on a stage set, but I mean, like they had a number of different independent stage sets that they would just kind of like wander between, and it was actually live. But in a sense, they were playing with the fact that it was live, but it was not in front of an audience. It was not limited to a single stage from a single angle. So they were able to do goofy things like move from one setup to another setup while doing a costume change, so like when they arrived at the other place, they were wearing something different. And I mean, it was really amazing. And it does make me think that like there's interesting things that you can play with this format. It doesn't just have to be a camera pointed at a stage doing what you would have done if there was an audience. Anyway, it would be interesting to see if they could do something like that. I would be interested to see what BABYMETAL's creative team does with something like that. And yet we have not seen that. I mean, like, RockMecon was only a little bit of that. And it looks like, they're trying to do these like actually live shows and in front of actual audiences that wind up being more limited. So,
right.
Anyway. All right. So the topic for this episode, surely there's nothing left to say. So I'm sure this will go quickly. But is the actual release of the 10 BABYMETAL Years Best Album. So I do not have any of these things in my possession. I've read all the stuff, but it's all sitting at Tenso as we covered before. And as soon as we're done recording, I'm going to consolidate and ship because I had forgotten about the deadline for the cards.
Oh,
I'm not looking forward to seeing what that shipping cost is.
Yeah.
But anyway, okay. So Kevin, you have all the ones that you ordered in hand, so you can give us sort of like hands-on reviews. Callie, do you have any actual items?
I do. I have 2. I got the limited version B and the 1 version B, but I haven't actually opened them all up yet. Because I want to unbox them on camera, but I'm thinking about doing it a different way. I just haven't decided what to do yet. Yep,
that makes sense. Yeah, and I mean, I bought the tracks from Ototoy. That's a legitimate way that you can buy Japanese only tracks. So that's where I have bought. I think I bought BMC there, but I definitely bought Syncopation there. So I've listened to the remix. Maybe that's actually one thing we could quickly start talking about. Is like, what did you think of the sound?
It's really nice. I was shocked in that I didn't expect to hear the difference immediately. But as soon as I was done ripping my CD to FLAC and started playing it uncompressed,
Mhm.
it was extremely obvious that these have been remastered in a way that makes it a whole new song.
Oh,
Like, it's
wow.
great. I wish every song would be remastered right now
Oh,
because
cool.
it's worth it. It's really good.
Yeah, I mean, I had the same kind of feeling. Like I mean, I guess I was kind of going into it thinking that this was going to be true, but you can hear a lot of stuff there that you couldn't hear before because just, I mean, generally speaking, the albums, I'm sure we've talked about this several times here, but I mean, the albums are all just dynamically smashed against the ceiling.
Yes.
And that's one thing that this remastering did is it just left a lot more room for everything to be independently audible. There's a lot more dynamic range. There are places where I think, like the Yui and Momoa vocals are lower than what I remember. But
No, see, to me, they're way more forward, particularly in IDZ.
yeah, I think it differs from song to song. Because I remember having that impression and then listening to something else and thinking, oh yeah, well actually wait, they're pretty loud here. So
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, no, it feels like the album and these songs actually have a dynamic range now.
yeah.
I consider myself an audiophile light in that I
Uh-huh.
haven't spent thousands and thousands of dollars on vintage equipment and stuff like that. But I have some reference headphones and some reference speakers, and I can absolutely hear the difference. The soundstage is exponentially larger than, say, what you get listening to the original track on Spotify, or even the CD version. It's not compressed by a streaming service. These are the definitive tracks. If this is how they were released, I don't think that the first thing people would say when they are introducing people to Baby Metal is listen to them live, don't listen to the studio version.
Yeah, I was thinking that thought kind of occurred to me too. That I haven't listened to the best album all that much, partly because I still have this lingering feeling like I just don't like to listen to the studio versions.
Mm-hmm.
And so I keep forgetting that these are improved. But it's still weird to listen to the extreme little kid versions. So they really are young when they did some of these. Yeah, no, it sounds really good though.
Interesting questions. Loon asked if you can hear the difference between the CD audio and the Blu-ray audio. Depending on the version you get a mashup compilation of live performances of these songs.
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear the difference? That's a good question. I'll be honest, that's not something I really listened for when I watched the Blu-ray version. I'll have to get back to you on that.
Yeah, so I forget now which version it is, but we'll cover it. But I mean, one of the versions comes with the Blu-ray that is basically the 10 BABYMETAL Years album, but with the live video behind it, basically.
Yeah,
right. And from what I've heard, there's something better about the Blu-ray audio. That's higher bit rate or something like that. Higher sampling. I'm not sure exactly what, but so that it might actually be better than what's on the CD.
I don't know about that. I'll have to do some more research on that one. I can't definitively answer that. The other question I thought that was interesting is Xbook asked, would you listen to these over the live versions now? Good question. For me, I think if I just want to zen out and put on my reference headphones, I would probably listen to these, the remasters, because they actually take advantage of the soundstage and the dynamic range of my headphones. But for everyday listening, I don't think I would fall back to these. I would still listen to the live stuff.
Yeah, I think that's probably about right for me too.
Yeah.
The person who remastered this is Ted Jensen, right?
Yes.
And I think I had read, I'm doing this from memory here, but that he also did the prior Budokan shows.
Mm-hmm.
So there are Ted Jensen mixed or mastered live tracks if you want to go back that far. And they do sound good. I mean, like I do remember thinking, you know, of the live ones that I've listened to, those, like I'm surprised when I go back and listen to that because I don't listen to it very often, but when I do, it's like this sounds really good. So,
I mean, well, he's one of the best in the industry when it comes to sound engineering.
And understands that there's something less than 11 on all those sliders.
Well, sure. He's a Grammy award winning sound engineer, if that means anything to you.
Okay, yeah. So anyway, we're impressed by the audio. I'm still kind of curious. I guess what we have is on the editions that like 7, 8, and 9 that you are doing these profit cards for. They contain songs that are not on the best album, and it would be cool. Although I'm a little skeptical of this being actually what happened. That it would be cool if those were also remastered, because then we would have probably pretty much all. What do you think?
I don't remember.
Is there any hope?
You're going to have to tell me which version it is, not the number, because I don't know them by the number.
Oh, the what I mean is the ones that you can't buy. So the Moa version, the Sue version, and the Koba version. Those have songs that are not represented on anything you have right now. Like Ine.
That we know of.
Mm.
Oh, well, actually, yeah, I guess maybe you do have one thing, which is the fan. We should be going through this in order, but anyway, the tournament winner,
right?
DVD. The question being whether the songs on that were remastered also.
I don't know. I feel like that would have been part of the marketing materials if it was to be the case.
Because I think basically if those aren't remastered, then there's no hope for the Sue, Moa, and Koba editions.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's a difference between like remastering 40 songs and 10, you know, so I can see why it might be kind of expensive to remaster all.
Sure.
Songs, but
I'm sure this guy's not cheap.
Yeah. Okay. But anyway, so maybe we can go through the actual editions. So there is limited version A. Limited version A has the CD and the music videos Blu-ray. So the music videos Blu-ray, is there anything, I mean,
that is delightful.
Yeah. Because
for the first time we're getting a lot of the older videos in Blu-ray quality in 1080p.
Yeah.
So that is really nice. The second half of all the stuff we've seen before that's recent that has pro shots and are on Blu-rays, you know, is kind of whatever, but getting the Doki Doki Morning video, Ine, Headbanger in 1080p Blu-ray quality is very nice. Same with IDZ.
Yeah.
That was the first thing I noticed. I was like, wow, okay, this is what this looks like, uncompressed. or closer to uncompressed.
I'm definitely looking forward to that. I mean, we had people had ferreted out some of these things when they had been broadcast on TV, right? I mean, like, so there were a couple of the videos had been broadcast on shows where they had been captured, you know, with a little station bug in the corner and stuff.
Right.
But it's nice to have the totally official and high bitrate version.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, the limited edition B came with all these slip covers.
Mm-hmm.
So, is it? What is that? I mean, like, so
they're LP covers. They're a plastic LP cover. So if you had the ability to take a cover out of an LP size thing, you could replace it with the cover you got. Really, though, they're just LP size prints.
Yeah.
Photos. They are very nice. They're well printed. They're well made.
Yeah, they do look really good.
They're frustrating because in order to hang it or do something meaningful with it, you would have to frame it.
Yeah.
So they're frustrating in that way, but they are very nice.
Okay, so but they're flat then. They're not.
They're not flat.
Okay, because the Wembley CD and the Forum special edition CDs had like this little cardboard thing that you put around the CD itself, like the normal CD. And I was assuming that was what we were getting here.
No.
But you're saying it's not.
Yeah, they're nicer than that.
Okay. Good. So they could be displayed if you...
Yes, they could be displayed.
honestly, I don't know what I have no idea what I'm going to do with these. I mean, that's the puzzling thing about this is that should you have whatever, like 10 copies of the LP to properly put to use these? Because you don't want to put it on your Beatles record or whatever, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't actually attach it to an LP. I'd stick it in a frame.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, I mean that's what we would actually do, but I'm just trying to figure out like what was their concept of this.
Well, I think
very weird.
I think that used to be a thing, replacing slipcovers. Back when records were the bee's knees and not a hipster cool thing to have.
Yeah.
I think if I recall reading about kind of the history of that stuff correctly, is that something that you used to be able to do? So I think that's just Copa being old and nostalgic.
Yeah, it could be. It could be. I used to, back in those days when vinyl was first popular, they used to have these things like so there'd be albums released on vinyl, but then there would also often be these like 12-inch singles, so they often have remixes and that kind of thing on them. Usually they were somewhere between like 2 and 4 songs, and they a lot of times they would have at the record stores, they would have these things they would call flats. Maybe I mentioned this here before too, but it's basically just like the cover. They would distribute these to record stores to put up as promotional material. But I mean, it was essentially just like the cover, but it was flat. It didn't contain anything. It was just a 12-inch square.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely would go collect those. I mean, like I have a number of those for like things I thought was cool. The albums I thought were cool, or 12-inch singles I thought were cool. That I'd actually just go to the record store and say, "Can I have this?" I'd say, "All right." And that might be kind of what these are. But you said they were sort of plasticky, though.
Yes,
not cardboard. Yeah,
they're not cardboard.
Yeah. Anyway, very nice. Okay, let's see. Right, so limited edition C is the one that came with the tournament DVDs.
It's as advertised. It's just I don't know. It's a mashup. Mm-hmm. Let's play the song, and we're going to show clips from notable performances.
Okay, so it's like what people do on YouTube, but hopefully a little bit more professionally.
No, that's exactly what it is. It's what you've seen fans do on YouTube, but official. And it is nice. They did a good job. They picked good moments. There's a lot of Yui, which I really appreciated. Yeah, it's neat. It's something unique.
Yeah, and no dust till dawn. What a shame.
Yeah.
Yeah, so annoying. So annoying.
It really is.
Because I mean, like, I think we came to this conclusion maybe 2 or 3 episodes ago, based on how this tournament went. But that it really isn't a camera failure or anything like that. It really is just it's some legal problem about who owns the footage. Oh, there was a calendar I saw too. How is that?
It's a little cheap.
Uh-huh.
It's what's the best way to describe it? I don't even know. Poster material, maybe like a thin thin poster material rolled up, all 12 months at the bottom with photos on top. One thing I didn't realize is you get that calendar for each edition you buy. So I have 4 calendars.
Yeah.
Put them up in every single room.
When I opened the Osmart box, I was like, what the heck are these 4 rectangular tube boxes? I don't remember buying these.
Oh, yeah.
And it's 4 copies of the calendar.
Handy. What's next? I think maybe the card game, the Karwata battle set.
That's
cool.
Great.
Yeah. Walk us through that.
This is by far my favorite thing of the things.
Uh-huh.
I am pleasantly surprised by the cards. When I ordered this, I expected the battle cards to be like playing card material. So, like a reinforced paper. No, they're like a hotel room key. They're plastic, or like a credit card.
Wow.
So they're very satisfying to hand. They feel very durable. It's definitely something I feel like I could take to a show and use in line.
Yeah.
Without being too concerned about destroying them.
Mm-hmm.
The mat you play the game on is like a tarp material, like a blue tarp. That also feels very durable and survivable.
And it's big too.
It's big. Yeah, the mat's huge. It's way bigger than I expected it to be. So I was very delightfully surprised by the battle set.
So there's a CD that comes with it that's sort of specifically that actually sort of runs the game, right?
Correct.
So I think I kind of get the idea, and well, actually, I think there is this is modeled on, like, there are existing games that are not Baby Metal themed
Yeah,
that this is modeled on.
Karuda's been around for a long time.
Yeah. And I think the way the original one was supposed to work is like somebody reads a poem or something, but it's like the last syllable represents a card that you have to find.
Mm-hmm.
Although actually, I don't even know how you score points or win or anything like that.
Right. So yeah, I can run through the game. I think I've talked with some friends who've played real Karuda, and we've looked at the instructions in Japanese. So I think I have a reasonable idea of how this works. Darren's actually in our chat. He's the one who kind of helped me understand how to play. So if I get anything wrong, please correct me if you're still here. So the way it works is you put the mat out. You take all of the cards that have the photos on them. Each card has a character in the top right corner. We'll get to that in a minute. But the way it works is you spread all of these out face up so that you can see the picture. And you play the CD. The CD is 42 tracks, and they each have about 5 seconds of song on them. For example, the card I'm holding in my hand is Akatsuki, and you're going to get basically one line of lyrics played on the CD. And now your job is to find that card on the mat, and the first person to find the card gets to keep the mat, or keep the card. And when the CD's over, or all the cards are gone, the person with the most cards wins.
Okay.
Now, there's another set of cards that have a bunch of hiragana on them. If you want to play this in hard mode, if you're not a Japanese speaker, you can play it this way, which is, I guess, the way you're thinking of, with where you read a poem and then you try and find the corresponding character.
Yeah.
So if you want to play without the CD, you can have somebody read from the deck of lyric cards. Again, I'm holding Akatsuki in my hand. These are read right to left, top to bottom.
Yeah. Extra hard mode.
Extra hard mode, right. So the way this would work is you would have somebody, or I guess maybe take turns, reading the card. Again, I'm holding Akatsuki in my hand. So the lyric is Akakusamare. And then, as I mentioned, the photo card has a character in the top right corner. You would need to find the card. So the first character of the lyric is what you match to the card.
I see. So you hear and you look for the character.
Right.
Got it. Interesting. Okay, so that explains why it didn't seem like there was much correspondence between the character and the song, but it's the character of the first line of the lyric that they picked.
Correct.
And the lyric that's on the card is the one that's on the CD too?
Yes.
Okay.
So good listening practice if you're learning Japanese and you want to use the characters.
I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I can't wait to play this with somebody. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think if I try and play it in Japan, I'm going to get absolutely destroyed, but I think it'll be really fun.
Yeah. I think, and it does seem like this would be, I'm torn about this because it's merch, it's treasured, right? But it also would be, it sounds like it's durable. It would be fun to just hang out in line and play it.
Yeah, these are super durable. I would not be very concerned about these getting destroyed playing, out in the field with fans. Yeah. My only annoyance would be having to hang on to it for the day.
Right. Yeah, you want to get have a hotel very near the venue or something.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's cool. Xbook asked, is it 2-player or 6, 7, 8? It is up to 10 people. Up to 10 people can play this game. And I suppose it's very replayable, right? Because you shuffle the cards onto the mat. They're not in the same spot every time. And you can push shuffle on the CD if you're playing the audio version.
Yeah. Okay, and then I think are we getting close to the end? I think the pretty much the last set is the Chronicle set. And so what's special with the Chronicle set, I think, is the interview disc. And I think, so, well, we'll talk about the interview disc, I think, at some separate occasion. But because first of all, I don't know what they say. Although I think we do know that it is not exactly the Kadokawa interviews. I think we have ascertained that because I think Funny Toss is working on translations and has said that.
Oh, okay.
So, yes.
So now the question re-arises: is it going to be, even if it is distinct actual words, are they saying different things?
One thing I do want to mention: we have breaking news. We have official lyrics for From Dusk Till Dawn because of the Karuta battle set.
Oh, that's right.
What?
That's amazing.
Yeah. And before you get your hopes up, it's just one line.
Yeah, I thought so.
And it's one of the more audible ones, actually. Like it took me a while to find it, but it's not just break, no, but it comes a couple of like, what do you call them, stanzas, I guess, before they go to that break part. It is actually English, right?
So it's sung in English, presented on the card in hiragana. It's the lyric right before the break, which is "Look at my face more day after day."
Yeah,
would be the translation. So you heard it here first. One line of official lyrics for From Dusk Till Dawn.
Yeah,
that is definitely the one that we knew already.
Yeah, exactly.
What else? I mean, I guess there's the profit cards. I don't know if you wanted to say anything about those. You said you have a number between 2 and 10 of those.
I have some number of them, yes.
Yeah.
They're just a little card with a letter on them. On the back is a code. You go to the website, you enter your code, and you get to take your guess.
Okay.
This is something we're going to have to come back to next week because we have some insider scoop that perhaps it might not be as difficult or as low probability as we once thought, because there could be multiple choice.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can still work out the odds as being not great.
Yeah, the odds are still not great, but it's certainly not as dire as maybe once we thought.
Yeah, I hope I get them in time. That would be kind of dumb. I mean, I understand that whether I get them in time or not, my odds of getting this thing are pretty similar. But anyway, did you get any of the store bonus things? Or were all these from Osmart?
No, I just did the Osmart stuff.
Yeah.
I'm really bad at doing that. Some of that stuff is cool, but I'm just like, well, I already bought the thing from the official source. I don't want another copy of the thing to get this other thing that'll just sit in a box all day.
Well, particularly because it really does wind up being like, okay, well, so what we're talking about here is like a $30 file folder, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Anyway, yeah, so it sounds like, it was expensive, but turned out nicely. So that's good.
Yeah, the Karuta set is definitely the highlight.
Yeah, I'm greatly looking forward to it. Like the box I have in Waiting for Me in Tenso has, in addition to all that stuff, a whole bunch of the magazines and things too. So it'll be interesting to get that box.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm just going to have to, I think I need to stay up very late at night and kind of close my eyes and maybe, have a little alcohol before I hit the ship this now button. But
you're going to have to report back on what your consolidation fee was.
See
if it's a new record.
I think the consolidation probably won't be so bad, but yeah, my last couple DHL shipments from Tenso have been just unbelievable, and so I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I will rage quit, and you'll never hear from me again.
So, if you're interested in joining our podcast team.
But okay, I think that basically does it, and then it seems like we're running pretty close to ticking over 2 hours, so that's good. Anything else anyone wanted to say about the 10 Baby Metal Years set, or anything else?
Not for me.
No, I think I'm good.
Good. Okay. Well, so thanks everybody for joining us in the chat. It's quite a lot of people there. So
yeah, thank you everybody.
And I guess we'll plan to be back here in 2 weeks so that we can talk about, what happened with respect to Budokan 1 and 2.
Hopefully there's something to report.
All right. So that is it for this episode. You can join us on the Baby Metal Podcast Discord to continue the conversation. You can send feedback to feedback@babymetalpodcast.com. Rating the podcast on whatever platform you listen on will help people find it, so please do that. We'll be back here in about 2 weeks. We really hope you will join us then. And until then, see you.